welcome to another video from Colour with Claire. So a couple of weeks ago I reviewed these magic markers, these alcohol markers from Cult Pens, and if you watch the video you will know that these three sets here are all colours that I have personally chosen to go into this triple set of markers which you can buy from Cult Pens, called the Colour with Claire magic marker set. And what I thought I'd do, because I've had quite a few questions, people asking how do you use alcohol markers and how do you blend with them and can we see some tutorials, I thought I'd do a whole colour along in real time with these markers for you to see exactly how to blend with alcohol ink and get yourself a set of the Colour with Claire magic markers, endorsed by yours truly. Just quickly, I don't get anything from the sales of these, by the way. This is just something, a collaboration that me and Cult Pens have done together, so that I could put together a really nice set of colours in alcohol markers for you guys. And yeah, so let's get on with it. So I have chosen, let me show you my little system here of how I've chosen the colours. So first of all, I've swatched out every single colour in the three sets of markers. They all come as one, by the way, so you get three different wallets in the one set. So these are all the colours that you'll get. I then decided to put together a few different blends, which you can see here, just picking colours out at random and seeing what would blend nicely together. And then I decided to choose a few of these to kind of limit the colour palette that we're using, because I don't want to go all out rainbow. You know, I want to kind of limit it a little bit. I think it makes the image look more cohesive that way. So I chose the top three here, the purples, the kind of aqua green, and some blue as well. And then, as you can see by my amazing, incredible drawing skills, I copied out a very, very rough sketch of the shape of this fox. And this is from the Enchanted Forest Artist Edition by Johanna Basford. And so yeah, I did a little bit of a sketch, very, very rudimentary, as you can see. Basically, all you need is the shape and the outline of what it is you're colouring. You don't need to do any details. It just makes it easier, I think, to do this small sort of thumbnail area and place your colours where you think they can be. And you can do these really quite small and you can try it with all different colours. I think Peter Hewitt has a video about doing little thumbnail swatches for deciding your colours. Anyhow, so I decided that the majority of the larger areas were going to be in the blue, and then all of the leaves and things will be in the greens, obviously. Well, it doesn't have to be obvious, does it? You can do leaves in any kind of colour, but I wanted those in green. And then any other spaces, like between the leaves, I wanted to add a third colour, because, I mean, you could have done the green and the blue, that would have been totally fine. Yeah, it probably still is a good idea, really, just to do the green and the blue, but I did want to add a third colour just to offset the others. I don't know, I think I always seem to do things in threes. And I thought the purple would go really nice with the blue and green, because they're kind of Arctic type colours, frozen type colours, rather than a warm palette. They're quite cool. So that's what I did. This is the process. So here we go. This is just from something else, ignore that. So yes, we're going to be doing this fox. You will find this in your Enchanted Forest colouring book if you have the standard edition, but do remember that alcohol markers will bleed through normal colouring book paper. So unless you're willing to sacrifice the image on the other side, definitely use something that is one-sided or a very thick cardstock like this in the artist edition. I'll put links and things in the description if you don't know where you can find this. I'll put links in. Okay, so now that we've got our plan done, I have the markers here in the sets of three. Just find it's easier to do things in threes. You get your dark, your light and your medium sort of transitional colour in the centre, and it just makes it easier. So we have our three different ones here, and now I'm going to show you how to blend. So let's start off with a big old leaf so that we can really see properly how to do this. Now I'm going to just zoom in a little bit, and I can't move my camera, so you're just going to have to focus on this area. And then I'm going to go with the Deep Aqua, which is the darkest of the greens. So this is A642. I'll put these in the description as well. If and when you do get the magic markers, you can colour along with me. This is A627, which is Aqua, and then A629 Pale Dale. Okay, so guess what I did? I decided to show you this leaf, didn't I? Close up, and then I went and coloured this one, which you can't even see properly on the camera. So I'm going to do this one for you again. Sorry about that, guys. You know I've got this thing now. It's become a signature of my channel where I'll always cut something off that I don't want to and keep things out of frame. So yes, this leaf. I'm just going to take the darkest colour, the deep aqua, and just block fill the stem of the leaf. I'm then going to colour the very base of this leaf, and it doesn't matter, you know, where you colour your highlights and shadows. There's 1,000 different ways to colour a leaf, but I just kind of make this a little bit of a triangle or sort of an upside down palm tree look to the leaf. That's where I kind of put my shadows usually, so you can see it's kind of like going up and then like this. But like I said, you can colour it however you want. You can start dark at the top and go light to the bottom, totally up to you. Then we get our middle colour. So while this dark colour is still fairly wet on the page, we're going to go over the edge. So we're kind of merging them together just very, very easily. They sort of do it themselves. Right over the edge, kind of trying to keep that shape as you go. Very, very similar to blending with, you know, your Prismacolor pencils or your coloured pencils. Just going over the edge of the last colour that you put down to ensure that the blend is nice and smooth. And again, whilst you've got that quite wet, you come straight in with your final colour. So you do have to work quite quickly with these if you do want to blend. Obviously, if you're doing block colouring, you can just take your time. But if you want to blend, you do have to work quite quickly. And again, I'm just going over the line that the previous colour has made. And honestly, alcohol ink is amazing. It just blends itself. It really doesn't need any kind of skill whatsoever. There are little tips and tricks, obviously. Like, for example, if you find that they're not blending so well, or there's still a bit of a harshness, if you just put the tip of your pen, your lighter colour, over it and don't go so fast for a second, it will just bleach out any lines, if that makes sense. So you can colour really fast with them, but if you find there's an area that is just looking a little bit liney, just go slightly slower. I'll show you a bit better when we move on to the purple and the blue, because I think these greens are all really kind of nice and they blend together really nicely. They're very close in shade, so you don't have a lot of trouble, but with the other colours, I'll show you what I mean. And what you can do, because you can still see quite a big line here, you can come back in and just do the process again. You don't have to be slow about it. It doesn't have to be a laborious thing. Just doing another layer. You can layer and layer alcohol markers because they don't rip the paper, or you know how water-based pens can pill up the paper and it just rips and it goes all fibrous. These don't do that. You can pretty much put as many layers as you want with an alcohol pen. That's why I love them, because you just have a very, very smooth finish at the end. So again, just doing this final layer just to make it all nice and smooth. And you see how quickly you can work with them. Now you can even use your lighter colour to do a whole layer straight over everything if you wanted to, just to further enhance the blend. You see how it's all really nicely sort of merged together. There we go. So that is how I would colour a leaf. Obviously, like I've said, you can colour it any different ways that you like. You could have dark around the rim here going into light in the centre, or you could make you could split the leaf into two sides, do dark both sides here to light in the centre. That's a good idea. I might do it later on. But yeah, that's the basics of how you colour with alcohol ink. But as I've said, I'm doing this in real time so that we can do it together and I can show you exactly what to do. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Ensure this time that we do have the section that we need in frame so that you can see. And then I think, looking back at our plan, we're going to be doing some blue here. So let's try that. I've got the blues together, what I'm using. This is the A448 Antwerp blue, the A435 light process blue, and the A440 pale process blue. So just keeping them in the order that we're using them. Okay, let's go with our darkest colour, which is the Antwerp blue. And I'm going to go all underneath these kind of fronds here and all around, because I think that this is where the shadow would be, underneath the fronds. So just using this very, very dark blue. And a little tip as well with alcohol ink is it can tend to spread when you put the tip to the paper, depending on what kind of paper you're using. This one's actually pretty good. This is a very, very thick cardstock, so there isn't so much tooth in the paper that's sort of allowing the ink to spread out, so this is actually quite good. But you will find sometimes as soon as you put an alcohol marker to the page, the ink will just spread out. And what you can do to combat that is just make sure that you're colouring just a little bit away from the line. So you see how I'm just colouring away there from the line, and it kind of spreads itself up there. But I'm not too worried about, you know, colouring over bits and bobs at the moment. This is just for demonstration purposes. So if it goes over the lines, it goes over the lines. So this is the kind of shadow area, and I'm going to just be quite careful here. These twin tip markers do have quite thin bullet nibs, so you can really get into small areas. So when you're working on a larger area like this, you do want to keep in mind that we need to try and keep it wet for the next colour. So try and work as quickly as you can. I don't want you to put pressure on yourself or anything to be quick, but if you are trying to do a nice blend, it is better to be as quick as you can and get those wet inks merging together. So there we go, that is the shadow area. Next colour is the light process blue. Now straight away you can see that this is a very, very different shade. So it really does help to have those inks wet. And as I sort of slowly, like I did with the leaf, colour over that line of the dark blue, you will see them start to merge and blend together. And it's not always perfect, and that is the reason why markers like Copic and Winsor & Newton Pro markers and any other alcohol ink have loads and loads of colours. You'll often find, like I think Copic have over 300 colours, and that's because to get the completely seamless, flawless transitional blends, you would usually use a lot more shades, a lot more in-between shades getting from that dark blue to this blue. But as you know, we haven't got all of those colours to play with, you just need to do your best really to choose colours that will blend as well as possible. So you can see, I mean, I don't think that looks too bad at the moment. It's going to have another layer obviously. I'm just going to bring this down and make it a little bit thicker, I think, so that we don't have so much of the lighter colour, but I'm still keeping the shape of the fox, okay? So I'm keeping this curvature. And then the pale process blue, doing exactly the same thing. So just going right over the edge and giving it chance, giving it time to blend together. This is where I said about being a little bit slower. I know I keep saying go fast with the ink when it's wet, and I'm kind of contradicting myself, but if there are any areas that just look a little bit liney, that's where you just have to just go a little bit slower and give the ink time. Okay, so here we go. So even though that's not perfect, I think for three colours that are quite different in shade, it's pretty darn good. We are going to do another layer as well. So I'm going to try and bring out the chisel now because we have a large area to fill. So this is going to be quicker. So I'm using the chisel in a round motion so we don't have any linear lines. Lines are generally linear, Claire. And we're just filling that space. And then when you do get to areas that are a little bit more fiddly, you can switch back to your bullet. Or you can use the edge of the chisel. Quite versatile, these pens. And I'm told that they last ages and ages. These are the original alcohol marker. I think these were the first alcohol marker made. So they are, everything was made better, wasn't it, in the olden days? And these are built to last, apparently. Obviously, I've not had them for that long. But I've been told that people still have them now from the 80s and the 70s, and they still work as brilliantly as they did back then. Okay, so going back with our darker colour, we're going to do this all over again and try and get it a bit smoother, okay? So there we go. It might even be easier to have your next colour on hand. Have I got the right one? Let me just check. 435 is this one. Have your next colour on hand ready to very quickly merge the ink together. So I'm doing it in a little bit of a smaller section this time, just to try and get a little bit more of a seamless blend going on. Do this a little bit here. See, I've chosen rather a difficult picture, I think, to demonstrate alcohol ink with, because it's got all of these really big spaces, and you are bound to see lines and imperfections on a space as large as this with alcohol markers, especially when you don't have all of those in-between colours that I mentioned like you would with the Copic. But you can get these twin tip markers in, I think, over 100 colours. So I mean, they haven't scrimped on the colours at all. There is a large palette there to work with, but I had to choose a limited amount, and I had to try and make the best decisions of the best colours that would go together and still blend. So I've done my best, guys. So just going to go under here as well, and then immediately come in with the middle blue and just do any little bits that I don't think look quite right. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a large space. Now I'm going to bring this middle blue down a little bit more, and again just keeping it wet, many layers as you like. Keeping it wet for the next blue to blend into. Okay, so our final blue. I'm using the bullet nib first of all, just to give us a more precise surface area to work on while we're just merging this line, if that makes sense. So we can really see where we're putting the colour down. And then once you've done that very edge, that's the most important bit for getting your blend done, then you can go in with your chisel and fill the rest of the big area in. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. Obviously there's quite a defined line here, and you can only do your best, like I say, with the limited shades, but I still think it looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to leave that now, and hopefully when it's dried a little bit more, it will look even better. Just, I keep messing with it. Right, so that was the blue. Now I'm just going to put a little bit more of that in between blue here, because it's getting to me. There's little lines. I am a perfectionist, so hopefully you guys aren't, and you'll just sail through this, but I am supposed to be showing you it quickly so that you can get the gist. Right, I'm not going to play with it anymore. So that was that bit. Now we're going to do some purple. Just put these lids on. The purples that I've chosen are the A515 Violet, the A565 Blue Lilac, and the A502 Mauve Shadow. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me see. I'm going to put the lightest colour down first on this bit, because I want the whole area of the leaves here, in between the leaves, to be purple. So I know that I definitely need light purple everywhere. I don't need dark purple everywhere, because that is a shadow colour. But I know that I'm going to need light purple, so I will start off by block colouring a small-ish area. Now, remember what I said about working quickly and not really choosing images that have got massive expanses of space like I have done here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do this little section, and then I'm going to put my shadows in before it dries. Okay, so I'm going to, now that we've got more partitioned areas, I can work by sections and hopefully get the blends looking a little bit better. So a few shadows there. That was the middle colour, by the way, the Blue Lilac. Going back to the first colour, the 502, while that's still wet, just playing with that line so it blends. And then the final colour, the darkest one, the Violet, just do a really small section of shadow underneath these leaves. And again, you're bouncing back to the next colour in the trio, the Blue Lilac, the middle colour, blending that in. And then finally, just that last bit of your lightest colour. There we go. So again, you can play with it and add more layers, add a few more mid-tones for your transition area. Totally up to you, but that's the basics of it anyway. So as you can tell from this video, it's going to be a little bit rambly. I do like to usually try and edit videos right down and make them very concise and, you know, not rambly, but I do want to do this in real time just so that, you know, I can show you exactly what I'm doing, and anybody who isn't proficient with the medium will be more confident to try it. So that's one little section of purple done. Let's do another. So I'm going to go and do this bit here in between these leaves. Let's fill it in with the Mauve Shadow. And you know, a really good thing about alcohol markers as well is that because they leave such a smooth finish on the paper, you can just put anything you want on top of them. You can, if you didn't want to do the blending with the pens, if you found that too difficult, you could just put a base layer down of alcohol marker, which looks really smooth and it doesn't mess your paper up. And then you can come in with your pencils and do all your shadowy bits, you know, all of your darker areas and stuff. So it does make a really, really nice smooth base, which is helpful. if you want to use, you know, pencils or paints or any other kind of medium you might want to put over the top to do these shadows. I often do an alcohol marker base when I'm doing skin, because it just gives you that completely smooth, flawless foundation, and then you can go in with your pencils, which I feel more proficient in, and do all the detail bits. So that was the middle colour. Now we're back to the mauve shadow, just to make sure that we don't leave this to dry as a line. Okay, and then our final with the violet. Feels a little bit like I'm doing a live stream because I'm doing everything in real time, and I'm so used to speeding things up and you know, not having any lulls in the conversation. So I'll just chit chat to you while I do this as if we're on a live, and you can comment underneath after the video and chat back to me. It won't be in real time, unfortunately, but that doesn't matter. So I've done our dark shadow there, and then coming back in with the mid-tone. And then finally, your lightest one again. And then it should all look beautifully blended. That blue's looking pretty good now, isn't it, guys? Like I said, if you find it does look a little bit liney, whatever, go in with a really light blue pencil and go over it. Give it a layer of pencil. Pretty pleased with that, how that's gone. Let's just continue with the purple. We're doing all of this in real time, so let's just do what we're doing. Yep, so I need to start with the mauve. I really don't want to keep repeating myself and bore you guys to death, but I really wanted to make this real time, so if you want to speed this up, you can do. I think that there's a little control on the YouTube settings where you can put this on a faster speed so that you can skip past me mumbling and having long silences and all that boring stuff. But I think you know the drill now, which is what I wanted. So just to make that clear, you know exactly where you have to put different colours and how to get them to blend. Should just keep the lids off really while I'm working in such small spaces. Make it quicker and easier for you to get your next colour on there. As you can see, I'm not being too precise and too careful. I never am. If it goes over the line, it goes over the line. It's not the end of the world. And as you know, I'm very impatient, so I don't really like colouring images with a lot of small areas. It tries my patience. So I would say that's pretty good. Let's continue down here. I'm going to do the feet in blue, and I'm going to try my best to merge the lightest blue and the lightest purple together. I've not actually tried it before this, so we'll see if it works. So as for knowing where to put shadows and placement and things, it really is just a guessing game to me. You know, I try and imagine where shadows might fall underneath things that are layered on top and just go with it, really. I think if you're making the effort to put shadows in, it doesn't always matter where exactly you put them. It doesn't always have to be perfect, but because you've made that effort to make it look more three-dimensional than just block colouring, it'll look pretty cool anyway. So try not to worry about it. I get a lot of people asking me, how do you know where to put shadows and things, and really just as long as you're trying to make it look a bit more dynamic than just a flat coloured piece, it'll look pretty cool anyway. I know that's not very professional artistic advice, but just have fun with it, really. I think the minute you're not having fun with it and you're worrying about it, you need to stop doing it. Okay, shall we have a little go at trying to blend blue into the purple? I think that would be a good idea. So just making sure that I've got my markers with the right lids on, and then I'll get my purples out as well. So the 440 is the lightest of the blues, just making sure we keep them in order because it's very difficult sometimes to remember which colour is lighter than another and you end up putting the wrong colour down. So that's the order, and then we've got our order of purples. Now then, looking back at our plan, I've put the shadows at the bottom of the feet. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, have we got the feet in frame first of all, Claire? Yes, we do. Now I'm going to start with our darkest colour, which is the Antwerp blue. And I'm going to do the bottom of his foot. This is like a really long foot. Do foxes have feet this long, or is this just a kind of fantasy fox that Joanna has thought up? I don't know. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a fox, a live fox, in real before. In real. I'm such a child. But yeah, I'd love to. I think they're beautiful animals. I'll tell you what though, I know that a fox has been on the garden, and when Rosie, my little Yorkshire Terrier, comes in, covered in the little presents that the foxes have left behind, which is not so cute, believe me. So I'm going over with the mid colour, getting it to blend a little bit, and then lightest one. Now then, let's see. Just let me do this little bit here. Make sure it's merged. Let's see how we can get our purple to blend in. So we've got that lightest one, which is the mauve shadow. Just going to pop a little bit of that mauve shadow down here, creeping onto the foot. And then with that light blue, I'm going to creep into the purple. That's pretty good actually. It's blended a lot nicer than I thought it would. So you see, I'm just going in with the lightest blue, and the more you layer a colour on top of another, the alcohol ink sort of moves the other colour out of the way, or bleaches the other colour out of the way. So you're using your lightest colour almost like a blender. That's pretty cool. I think I just want to come back in with the Antwerp blue at the bottom here and just redefine that edge. Sometimes you can move them back a little bit too much, and you just have to put the colour back in where you want it. Mid blue now. And light blue again. Okay, pretty happy with that. Let's do the next foot. So again, dark blue, going to do the bottom of the foot. Just bring a little bit there. Mid blue. Lightest blue. The tips of these markers are really good as well, because as you can see, I'm using them quite roughly. You know, I'm not delicate in my art supply usage. Probably should be, but the tips are really standing up to me, battering them about on here. So again, oldies are always goodies, aren't they, when it comes to pretty much anything. These have really been built to last. Again, just with a little bit of that mauve shadow, bringing it onto the foot a little bit there and going over it with the blue. That's really nice. I'm really pleased with that. Okay, so I think we should probably do the other legs, shouldn't we, really? Which again, on the plan, I have kept blue. Just looking really whether I should do them in purple, now that I'm looking at the picture itself. So we're going to have some purple at the top of the head here. So that's going to go all the way down here. We're going to have blue. Let's finish off the body and then we can make a decision about the legs. So I'm going to go back in with the mauve shadow and do more of this, but going all the way up the fox's spine. So working on little sections at a time where you can. Obviously, as I've said, it's much more difficult doing a large area like that. But if you've got the chance to work on smaller sections like this, if you've got the illustration that has these smaller sections, then definitely do that. Okay, so we're going to put some shadow under this leaf and these ones as well. Under here. Back in with the light one to blend it out. And then the darkest one just to add a little bit of deep shadow. So for the purposes of not having huge silences, because it's really awkward and I'm super awkward anyway, I went to see It Chapter 2 the other night in the cinema. Went with my brother and sister and her boyfriend. And yeah, it was all right. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was as good as the first movie, if you've seen the first one. It was very, very CGI. And I think it would have been nicer if they did a few more practical effects rather than use so much CGI, but it was still good. It was enjoyable. As you know, I absolutely love my horror films, and today is Friday the 13th, so what will I be watching later? You guessed it. Friday the 13th, part 1. Because I think you have to, don't you, really? Yeah, so I've done that little section now. I'm going to go in again and just do little bit by little bit. My voice got really weird then. Do little section by little section is what I meant to say. So I really hope that I'm going to meet as many of you as possible at the Colour in Heaven event in Bath next month. I know that there are quite a few of you going and there's not many tickets left, so if you haven't got yours and you want to come and you can make it, I would love to meet you. As you know from watching my channel, I am a bit socially stunted, a little bit awkward, and a lot of my reviews I actually type out before I do them. Obviously I've not typed this out, otherwise it'd be a lot slicker than it is, but I do type them out so that I know what I'm saying and I don't lose my words. So when you meet me in Bath, I'm probably going to be a little bit shy and a little bit awkward. I often sort of remind myself of David Brent from The Office. If you watch The Office, I'm not as, I'm not like him where he thinks he's amazing. I'm exactly the opposite, but I'm very awkward in that sort of very cringy way. So hopefully you'll bear with me if you do come to Bath. I had a video call with the lovely Kim White the other night, who is the creator of Creative Happy Life Club. And she's absolutely lovely, and she is fantastic at just speaking on camera, candidly and without script and without much preparation. But I find when I try and do that, I just end up forgetting what I'm trying to say and being a bit stuttery and what have you. But yes, nevertheless, I would love to meet you. So if you can get to Bath, you'll meet Jasmine Beckett Griffith as well, who's obviously the main draw of going, not me. And you'll get to get your books and things signed by her, so it's an awesome opportunity. And obviously it's going to be a colouring class as well. There will be Jo Barber there to show you how to colour skin and hair, so it's a whole tutorial day. It's going to be awesome. Okay, next area. I'm pretty sure that this is a gap here, so we're just going to have to make our own line because Johanna has not put one in. So let's just say that this is the line. Little sections. So yeah, I went to see It Chapter 2 the other night. I think the next one I want to see is Joker, which is obviously the new rendition of the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, who is a brilliant actor. I love pretty much everything he's done. So I'm really looking forward to see how he portrays the character. Obviously Heath Ledger is known, and with good reason, as being the sort of ultimate Joker, the ultimate performance. So I really can't wait to see how Joaquin has taken the role on. So that is that bit of purple there. Let me just check my plan again. So yeah, I decided to do purple halfway up the tail and meet with blue at the bushy bit. So let me make sure you're on screen Quite proud of myself for remembering actually to make sure that you're on screen. And let's dive in again with our purples. So again, there's no real line here, so I guess you could just colour these leaves and not have to have a background in there, but I thought it'd be pretty nice to fill the whole thing in. So let's do that. Now, before I get any comments from people saying that I'm doing this wrong or techniques not correct or what have you, this is just the way I do it. You know, I am not a professional artist by any means. This is just the way I do it in my very rudimentary way. So there probably is a much better way to colour with alcohol inks. Maybe you don't be as rough or go a little bit slower or take more time on your blending, I don't know. But all I can ever do on this channel is just show you what I do, and you know, people seem to think it's okay. So I do just always try and keep it as simple as I can, because I personally can't be doing with tutorials that are just too jargony and you know, they're too difficult and too, what's the word, like unreachable for people, for just normal Joes like me. So yeah. But I do tend to get comments from time to time from people who are obviously more proficient with the mediums, and you know, they do tell me what I'm doing incorrectly. And you know, that's their right. I don't mind being taught new things, or constructive criticism. It's totally fine by me. I criticise myself enough for everybody. Yeah, so if there is a better way of doing this, please don't feel like you can't say, you know, we all want to help each other. So if you do want to comment and give any tips for people who want to improve this, please do. I do like to think of this channel as a bit of a collaboration with everybody, because people commenting is more important than you might think. You know, people do read comments to get more info, more tips. And yeah, so please do help, do give your input. Mauve shadow, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit further up, maybe till we get kind of toward the top of this frond here with the purple, and then we can start to bring in the blue. Trying to think if there's anything I've got to tell you. So far for reviews coming up in the next few weeks, I've got Jasmine Beckett Griffith's new book, the Alice in Wonderland one. I have just today received Clara Markova's new book, Fairy Celebrations, I think it's called. I don't know where I've put it now, I think it's in the kitchen. And I've just mopped up in there, so I'm not going in, otherwise I'll ruin the floor. Yeah, so I've got that one to come. Really excited about that. Christina Novak has got a new book coming out in October, November. She was the illustrator of Slavic Beauties, that amazing colouring book. And she's got a new one coming out, which I'm really excited about because I love her artwork. I've got Coloriage Wild 4 ready for review. It's just getting around to doing all these videos, really. Let's see if I've got anything else here. No, I think that's about it. Obviously, the biggest thing I'm waiting for at the moment is Joanna's Inky Wonderlands book, figuring out how to draw, finally. And I have had a little sneaky peek at the book when I met up with Johanna in Scotland not so long ago. And it is amazing. Obviously, I didn't take a lot of it in because I was super nervous meeting Joanna and super shy and awkward, as I've just been talking about. So she probably thinks I'm a weirdo. But yeah, the book is gorgeous. You know, it's what you've come to expect from Joanna. Amazing quality, and she's basically sharing all of her secrets with us, which I think is a really nice thing to do. And that's my chair creaking, by the way, not anything else. So yeah, can't wait for that one. getting a lot of comments, well, not a lot of comments, just a few comments from people worrying about it because they can't draw at all and they just want something to colour, which is fair enough. And Joanna's included loads and loads of colouring illustrations in the new book, so you don't have to worry about that at all. But I will say that all of her methods and all of her step-by-steps are really, really simple. So don't worry that it's going to be too over your head. If you're looking at a Joanna book at the moment and you're thinking, how the heck am I going to create, you know, anything like that? Just put your faith in her, because she has worked really, really hard on this book to make it accessible to everybody. And I know that she's going to be doing some like tutorials on video as well herself, so that you can follow along and colour with her. Not colour with her, draw with her. And maybe that'll make you feel a little bit more confident rather than just being faced with a book and being left to it. So yeah, you will be getting lessons from the Queen herself. I kind of don't mind this area looking a little bit liney, because this frond is, you know, very linear in its shape, so it's going to have shadows like this, I think. Shadows that look very, what's the word? Shadows that look regimented. I don't know if that's what I mean. So I've just noticed that my camera has decided to freeze, but I think that you will have heard everything I was saying before, so that's good. You just couldn't see. So I haven't gone any further, which is pretty lucky, because I just happened to check the camera. So yeah, we've just done underneath this palm frond here. We're coming up now to where I want to add the blue. I don't know why my phone does that sometimes. It seems whenever it's on for, you know, a pretty decent period of time, it seems to just freeze after a while. And I have got it on airplane mode as well, so it shouldn't be getting triggered by any notifications or anything. It's weird. Okay, so I'm going to go and get the lightest blue, which is the A440, and try to blend it a little bit with the purple. There we go. That's really, really nice. I'm really pleased with how they've blended, because obviously they're completely different colours, so yeah, lovely. And then I think we'll start from the top of the fox's tail now with the darker blue. So I'm just thinking of how to do this, because to be honest with you, this should be in light here, because it's not got anything over the top of it making it shadowed. So I just need to think for a sec. I wonder if I might do a kind of rough area of darkness here and then just bring it up to light over here. Let's give that a go. I know what I mean. I know I'm not very good at explaining. Let's put some dark blue here. Again, we've got another really large area to try and work with. So kind of following the contours of where Joanna's put these zigzags, maybe, kind of, a little bit. We could do something like that. And then build to lighter as we go on. I think I'm doing the more difficult bits first, which is probably the best way to do it really, because you get them out of the way. Okay, so I don't want this to be too harsh, so I'm just going to make sure that these edges are wet for the next colour and then go straight in. So this is the 435. You know, the best thing as well about using alcohol markers is if anything goes wrong or there's any areas that you're a bit unhappy with, you can just, like I've said, either go over them with pencil, or you could put some sort of white gel pen detail on it to hide things, which I do quite a lot. Maybe I'll do a bit of white gel pen swirl or something over some of these areas at the end. Just go back in with that lightest blue and make sure that this isn't too liney. Liney is my new word. I don't think it's in the dictionary, but it's in the dictionary of Claire, which is full of nonsense words. Just making sure that I'm not frozen again. Probably could have done this in a two-parter. Maybe I still will. You'll know at this point whether I have or haven't. I don't know. No, I need the middle colour, that's this one. I always get mixed up with these two. So I'm not too worried about that for now, because I can always come in and do another layer like I did underneath his chin. I do just want to make sure that this is nice and wet for the final colour. Well, I'll use a chisel on that in a moment because it's quite a large area, but just mess about with these edges for a sec to try and get them a bit softer. And again, just go a little bit slower and you'll find they soften up quicker. Okay, so I know that looks terrible at the moment. We will fix it. Let me get my chisel out and do the rest of this tail. Okay, so I've done a pretty flat layer of blue now over there. Probably shouldn't have put any of the mid blue here, but I've done it now. Now then, let's go back and mess about with this area. So, got my Antwerp blue out again. Let's do another layer. So you see how this is really dark now and then this is lighter, and you're wondering probably, well, why is it doing that? Because alcohol ink is supposed to be completely flat and seamless, and that is obviously not. Well, it's because you need to max out the tooth of the paper with the ink. And by that I mean, it gets to a stage where there's only so much ink that you can put on that will actually change the colour. So you see, I'm doing that now and it's making no difference whatsoever to the tone. And that means that it's thoroughly saturated the card or the paper or whatever surface it is that you're using it on. And that is the true colour of the marker. So when you first put, when you first put the colour down, that isn't the true colour. You need to completely saturate the paper. You see how that's not completely saturated yet? You need to completely saturate the paper. That's almost there. In order to get the true shade of the colour. Otherwise, it will look lighter and it will look streaky. So it's like that's the process of using the alcohol markers and getting them to look alright, getting them to look blendy. So as you can see, I'm not sticking to that exact pattern that I did before, because I'm hoping that this will make it a little bit easier to blend. And it's all good anyway, because it's a tail, so it's supposed to be sort of fluffy and furry, and you know what I mean. But as I've said, alcohol ink, not perfect on large areas. So you can't really expect it to be, but on these smaller areas, I love it. I love alcohol ink, especially, like I say, is using it as a foundation for pencil colouring, which I have done. I think that was what this little guy was for. I did that video for doing alcohol ink as a base layer. Okay, and your lightest colour, I'm going to go in with the chisel again. So this whole area here is obviously not looking amazing. Like I say, it's quite difficult. Sometimes it's easier when you've just got one line, but with this having, I've made this kind of rough shape, there's not a great deal you can do about it. Maybe if I just go in with that mid blue on the chisel and do a little bit of swishing and swirling. Might help a little bit, maybe. So you know what, I'm going to leave it like that and we'll see how it looks when it's dry. And like I've said, I can always cheat and put something over the top of it to decorate it and hide it a bit. Right then, so I'm just going to get a little bit more of that mauve shadow here and do that again because it seemed to have got pushed back by the blue. There we go, it's better. Now we've got this area here, so I need to blend the purple up into the blue again. Okay, so just grab this light purple, do exactly the same as we were doing before. our very darkest shadow. There we go. Yeah, so I think if you're using Copics, you'd probably have to be a little bit more careful with your application, because I can imagine the brushes not holding up very well to an awful lot of this. I know they are decent brushes on the Copics, but these seem a lot more steadier, firmer, and they seem a lot more durable. Now I'm going to try and blend it into this light blue, so let's just put a bit of this purple here and get our blue. There we go. Put a little bit of purple over this as well. Just finding any little areas that you might miss. Yep, it's pretty good. I think I've missed this bit here. You'll see when you come to the end, it'll become clear if you've missed any bits and pieces. It's quite easy to do on an illustration like this. So let's do the purple on his head. Let me make sure you're in frame. I'll do the purple on his head, and then I can decide about the legs, whether I want to do them purple or blue. So let's grab this mauve. Again, just small areas. I don't think we need too much of shadow on here, so I might just leave it with the mid-tone as the shadow. And okay, let's get in between all these little fiddly grass pieces, whatever they are. Now let's get some shadows in underneath this grass. So just under here. And there's not a lot of room to play with, so just do your best if you are doing this illustration. And then put some darker shadowing in places. It's really difficult when you've got these tiny weeny little gaps. So just do your best. I'm going to go over this whole area with the mauve shadow, the light one, because I just don't want it getting too dark in here. And you can see I've already gone over loads of the grass, so we'll just have to deal with that when we come to it. When I put the green down. Not too bad, I guess. Maybe I will put a little tiny bit of dark here. Okay, and we can move on and do the rest. I'm going to do a little bit of chiseling around here just to speed up the process a bit. Might actually be easier in some areas to use the tip of your chisel. Okay, shadows underneath this leaf, I think, and then underneath these pieces of grass as well, and underneath some of these leaves on this plant. I'm going to do a little bit of shading around here as well. I'm not being too precise with these leaves because it's just such a small space. You can if you want to, but it's not for me. Little detail. Except for when I'm having, you know, a very powerful bout of anxiety or panic. Then I really want the detail, like as much detail as you can give me, because it takes my mind off anything that's going on. Just having to fill in these teeny weeny spaces. That's why I only ever do mandalas, for example, when I'm having a panic attack or feeling very anxious. Because I don't have to worry, I don't have to think about where I'm putting colours, I just do it. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you go over the lines or you you mess up little areas, as long as the overwhelming picture at the end of it is effective, if that makes sense. So sometimes, you know, people aren't going to go in with a magnifying glass and check out every single piece of your image, but when you step back and look at it as a whole, it will be so bright and popping and effective that it doesn't really matter, which is what I'm hoping is going to happen with this one. I've still not decided whether, I think I might do the legs blue actually. That'll probably look better. I think there's enough purple on it at the moment. think that I'm pretty happy with how that's looking so far. Just need to do the top of this ear now. Let's do some dark purple at the bottom. And go lighter towards the tip of the ear. And that'll do. I'm not going to mess about with that for too long. Now I've just got this bit here to do in between this grass. Just being very quick and careless with it. And then this bit here as well. And there we go, I think that'll do. Like I say, when I come to doing the grass and the green, we can sort out bits that I've gone over. So now these legs, let's move them up a little bit and go back to our blues. So I'm going to start off with that Antwerp, and let's do this right hand side of his leg in shadow, I think. And we'll do a little bit of dark here as well, in this other toe. And I'll fill the rest in with the lightest blue. I'm going to thicken up this mid blue area, I think, just because it's looking a little bit too, there's too much light blue on it. Let's just make sure that this dark blue has its own area as well, and that it's not getting pushed back too far. Make sure that's all nice and flat, the colour, and as blended as you can get it with this large area. And I think I might just bring a bit of purple down this leg. Just a little bit. Just playing with this now, really. Like I've said, you can go over and over it, but But as I've said, I'm a perfectionist, so I do try and make it look amazing all the time, and it doesn't always work. Okay, so next leg, same thing. And then we will just have the leaves to do. Usually if I go over something with pencil or I get some pencil dust, I just do that, and I've just tried to rub off marker and it just doesn't work. I just need to be more careful. Okay, so I'm going to do my second layer on now on here. You watch some YouTubers and they do real-time videos that are hours long, and they can just keep up a stream of stream of conversation all the way through. And I'm just really super aware of silences. So I want to try and keep content interesting for you guys. So hopefully this is interesting enough. Yeah, I think that'll do. The legs. Now we're on to the leaves, which hopefully won't take too long. So I need to get all the caps back on my blues now, so just bear with for a second while I do that. This is the bit that they would cut out. If you were watching TV, cut out all the boring bits. So there is the blues, and yep. Oh, hang on, that was wrong. 502 is the mauve shadow. Some of them are so similar on the little coloured stripe, it's difficult to know. Right, so I'll put those to the side because I think we are done with those. And let's get our greens going. Let's have a sip of tea. And let's go. Okay, so let's start with this big old leaf here. Can you see that? Yep. Let's have that little triangle of colour again. I'm not going to do them all the same, don't worry. But I think we'll have that little triangle of colour here, going into our slightly lighter aqua colour, and then around that edge we will have the pale dale green. So we've got a little bit of interest going on there, a bit of difference in the leaf. These two colours are so similar, it's really easy to blend them and they don't look too different from each other. It's more when they're dry you can see it more of a difference. Okay, and that pale dale green, just block colour the outline, the rim of the leaf. There we go. If you want to deepen up the insides sections, you can do that by adding your second layer. You don't need to add a second layer. It's just if you want to deepen up the colours. Like I said, unless you've fully saturated the card, you've not got the deepest colour that you can get with the ink. So you can keep going for a little bit until it's saturated. Now let's see what we can do about these leaves here. So I'm going to give these leaves an outline all the way around of green, the dark green that is, and then our mid colour, and then right in the middle we'll have that pale dale. Like I said, it's just a different way of colouring it and it gives it a bit more interest. I'll just do a few of these leaves at a time. There we go. Like I said, if you want to go over and do another layer, you can do, but you don't have to. Next, let's do these leaves in a very similar vein. Veins. Leaves have veins, don't they? And just do the outline. Super quick. See, it's quick, but it looks pretty good because you've put the effort into using 3 different shades. So it's not amazing or hyper realistic or anything like that, but it's pretty cool to just glance at. And that's all most people do anyway. If you put it online or you show your friends, they'll just glance at it and it'll catch their eye because it's kind of popping with the differences in the contrast and the tones. Okay, these ones down here, these little ones, I might just do in the light green. This isn't because I'm rushing or anything like that, it's just because you don't always have to use every single colour on every single leaf. So So just doing those as a pale green would be fine. And then I might just do these as the darker green on their own. Now for these here, making sure I'm still on screen, let's do very similar to what we did with these, but instead of it being the whole leaf outlined, we'll put a line down the centre like that. This is difficult with these leaves because they are small. So it might be that on the smally ones you can just go straight in with your lightest colour and you don't need that transition colour. I'm using the darkest green and the lightest green together without the transition. Just putting a bit more dark green in there just to heighten the contrast a little bit. I'm going straight over the purple, which is fine. You get to these really small leaves. You might want to do them in pencil or another medium of your choice that's a little bit easier on smaller areas. There we go, I think that's pretty cool. I must have said pretty cool about a million times in this video so far, apologies. I'm gonna, with this one, do something similar to this because it's kind of a similar looking thing. So instead of doing it up this way, I'll do it up this way this time, the blend. And then the opposite way on the other side. Make the weirdest slurping noises. I try and drink tea so quietly and it just turns into the exact opposite. For the outline, I'm not sure. Let's go with the dark for the outline. So I guess that will make the sections pop a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to do the same on these leaves as I did with these because we've got a bigger space to work with, so it should look a little bit better. So using the dark green to outline and down the middle as well. And this time we've got enough room for our transition colour. Now you could leave a little section of white in this, which is my #1 top tip for colouring, as you all know if you watch the channel, is always leave some white. And we've actually got room enough to do it here. And you know what, if you didn't leave white on the other leaves, I'm trying to see if I've got a Prismacolor white anywhere that I can show you. Bear with. Here we go. If you didn't leave white and you want to, you can go back in with a Prismacolor pencil because it's a really soft and opaque one that will just go over and cover anything. And just pop some white in there to make it pop more. Just like that. So don't fear, if you want to go back in and put some in, you can. Yeah, what were we doing? So I'm just going to outline this again. Now that it's dried a little bit more, we're getting the darker, more shadowy look to it. You see how much difference it makes to leave the white? If you compare, say, this leaf and this leaf, look how flat this one looks compared to the one with the white. So yeah, it's a definite tip. And you can even just soften that white up with your pencil if you want. Looks really pretty, doesn't it? I'll probably come back in at the end and with that white pencil and just do a few little touch-ups here and there. But alcohol markers are really good for doing bases, and then pencil on top. That's probably my favourite thing to do with an alcohol marker. On this smaller one I don't have a lot of room, so I'm just going to go straight in with the Pale Dale. And now I've added white, I just can't stop. Okay, there we go. And again, deepen it up by adding your darker colour back in to the outline. Makes all the difference, contrast, it's the big thing for me anyway. And I'll do the same here as well. Just makes them look more dynamic, doesn't it? More rounded if you do this, like I said, comparing them. There's a world of difference, isn't there? I always threaten to do a video about leaving white and maximising contrast, and then I always forget to do it. And yet it's the biggest colouring tip I have. So I'll get around to it one day. I mention it in pretty much every video where I do colouring, so you should all know by now anyway. Okie doke, let's see, what about this palm frond? I'm thinking pale green on its own with maybe a little bit of shadowing. Love green and purple together. It's very Halloweeny, isn't it? Very Beetlejuice. If you're wondering why I keep doing that every so often, it's just checking that I'm still moving on camera and I've not been frozen in time. Yeah, quite like that just on its own as it is. These little leaves down here as well, mustn't forget those. I think I'll just put a slight bit of shadow on them with that mid-tone. Don't always have to use light, medium and dark. And here I'll colour these in, but then I will give them some shadow so that they look different to the palm frond. I don't even know if that is a palm frond, it's just what I've decided to call it. Here we go with a little bit of shadow. See, that to me now, this blue, it doesn't actually look that bad now that it's dried. I was thinking it was looking a bit unsalvageable, but I think it looks pretty good. Even though obviously it's not a smooth blend, I didn't make it out to be because I did it quite zigzaggy. So there we go anyway. What's next? Let's do this leaf. Let's do this as a similar one to this because it's got a line down the centre and we've got the room to do it. Okay. And then with these bits of grass, I'm just going to simply do dark to light from bottom to top. I don't really want to mess around. Like I said, people aren't going to be taking your picture apart with, you know, when they look at it. It's just going to be how it looks overall is what's going to grab people's attention. If that's, of course, what you're doing it for, you know. Obviously, we all want our work to appeal, but if you're just doing it as a hobby and nobody else gets to see it, so what? At least you like it, and that's the most important thing. Just noticed this bit here. I probably could do with filling that in with a dark purple, I think. Let's do that while I remember. There we are. Oh, I'm really liking the look of this now. I often don't stop and look at the whole thing until I'm finished, so just had a little bit of a gander at it then. I'm really pleased with it so far. Then let's do this leaf, which... let's do it all dark apart from those little V's in the centre. And then I can come in with the Pale Dale and just fill that in. There we go. Let's do this one all in green, light green, and then just a little line down the middle. This one I want to do the same as these because it's got that section, it's got the line down the middle, and it's my favourite way of colouring a leaf really for that that kind of 3D look. Very small at the bottom, so just do what you can. Okay, these ones, I think we'll do we'll do it all the way around one for this. This is probably going to turn out to be the longest video I've ever filmed, in one go anyway. Probably should have split it into a couple of parts. Maybe I will, you'll know by now. I'm very indecisive, so it just depends what will happen when I come to editing, whether I want to split it into one or two. But if it is part one, it will say part one in the title. If not, it will just be the whole thing, and it'll be really long. So hopefully you've got a couple of hours spare to listen to me waffle. Once you've done your white pencil, if you do that as well and it just looks a little bit too harsh, you can use your light green just to go over the pencil, and it will go over it, just to soften it up a little bit. Okay, let's not forget these little babies here. So we've got a little bit more green in there, so it doesn't look like we've missed anything. Now let's start at the head and work down here and we'll be done. So with these, I'm going to do a bit here and a bit here of dark green, and the rest with the Pale Dale. And pretty much the same on this side, but just flipped. Oh, can you see the ears? Ah, no, you couldn't. Good job that I thought about it though before I went too far. So I just did a bit of dark green here, and then filled the rest in with the Pale Dale, just like I'm doing this side. Okay, and then for these little bits of grass, I'll just put a base coat of the Pale Dale over them. And we can figure out if we want to put any dark shadowy bits in after, but we know it's all going to be green here, so I might as well just fill it in with the very light green so we've got the foundation. And obviously this is a right mess around here because I didn't, I wasn't careful with it, but I don't care. Right, let's get some of this dark green coming up here and vary it so it doesn't just stop at one section, because some of these are longer than others. So we vary it. We have a drink. Didn't slurp this time. It's a win. There we go. Let's pull a bit of this dark green down here because I went over it with the blue. And we can cover it up a little bit by doing that. Pull a little bit of green down into there as well. Same here, I think I'm just going to colour these, because they're so small, I'll just colour them all with the light green. Can you tell I'm nearing the end now? I'm seeing the finish line in sight. My back is absolutely killing sitting here all this time. Okay. So I'll just put a little bit of green as a dot in the very centre of these leaves, just to add a bit of interest. Okay. And just because it's me, I'm just going to go over them once again with the Pale Dale green, just to make them a little bit more blendy. And then we've got these bits again. I think I'm just going to colour them with the light green. And bring some dark green up from the bottom. Okay, now we've just got this little bit here on the top of the leg to do, And we've got his little nose as well, which I think is going to have to be dark purple with a little bit of white pencil for a shine. So these ones, let's do light green around the outline, and then let's have some dark in there. A little bit of the mid green. Oftentimes you'll find on these little tiny areas you won't need your mid greens or your mid colours. There's just not enough room. This one, let's make the outline dark green. Sounded really patronising then, didn't I? I was talking to a child. Let's make this one dark green. And then we'll fill the whole thing in with the pale Dale. And maybe just a little bit of a dark green line in the centre as well. I think I'll just alternate that really. Let's do a bit of the light aqua on this one because we haven't used that too much. And fill that in. So yeah, I'm just alternating now really. Got to the end of it. Last bit of ink. There we go. So we have, it's not going to work. We have finished our fox at last. Am I zoomed out enough? Am I? Oh no, wait, that's way too zoomed out. Now you can see all the mess on my desk. Right, okay. So the fox is done. Now I did say that I was going to do some little bits of detail just to hide any bits that I'm not too fussed about. So let's put all our caps on first of all. Let's be right. There we go. And sharpen the white. See if there's anywhere that I can put this. Let's make sure that these bits are really white here in the centre. You don't have to do it on every single leaf, it just looks nice really. What I might do is just quickly go around these again with the dark green just to make them pop out a little bit more. And just wiggle a little bit of the pale Dale in there as well. So where can I put the white? I think I did it pretty much as I went along, didn't I? So I don't think there's enough. There's anywhere that I need to put a lot of white. A little bit down there. Just put a little bit here. You could, I guess, do a bit of a very light layer and a bit of a coat of white over the insides of this leaf. You wanted. I'm not pressing down hard at all. This is just to add a little bit of extra dimension. A very slight, very subtle bit. You might not even be able to see that on the camera. Let's do a little bit in here as well, just on the insides of this section leaf. And I think that might be it, guys. I think we've exhausted the white areas now. Maybe just a little bit on here. I could just go on all day really. I just end up, you know what I'm like with putting white dots on everything as well. I could just go on all day. Okay, so put a little bit of white around the edges of those leaves. That's it. That is it. I'm done, she says. I'm just messing now. Okay, done. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to see what we can do with some white gel pen. So you see how Joanna's put these little dots here just to add a little bit of extra interest. You could do things like that. You could put little white dots all the way up the edge of, say, this tail. And that's not actually covering anything, it's just there for decoration. Now this is a really rubbish white gel pen, so bear with. And maybe a little bit of a line, if it'll give me a line, before continuing with the dots. Something like that anyway, just little bits you can add to it if you want to. If I was going to cover this bit, maybe I'd do some swirls here or something. I might leave it though, you know, I kind of like it now. So I might end up leaving that, but yeah, just put little bits and bobs where you want them really. If you just want to decorate it a little bit more, do a few more of these under his neck or whatever, the side of his face. Maybe a few down here. Most rubbish white gel pen. I needed some new ones. Might do some on the legs as well, just to tie it all in. Gives it a little bit of a shiny look as well. I don't know why legs would be shiny, but and of course, if you wanted to add any white gel pen to the leaves to make them look like they're a bit glossy and gemmified as well, you could do that. Probably ruining it now with this gel pen because it's just horrendous. Right, put a little bit there. My Posca pen isn't much better because that seems to have gone really, really watery for some reason. Maybe I need to shake it up a little bit. See if that makes any difference. No, it's super watery. Sometimes they get like that, these paint pens. But anyway, I'm just holding everybody up now. So I'm going to finish and I'm going to say thank you so much for bearing with through this monster of a video. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that it's taught you something maybe that you didn't know about alcohol ink and how to use it. And I really hope that you'll go and grab yourself the Colour with Claire set of Twin Tip magic markers because they're absolutely fantastic. They really are a great investment. They do last a long, long, long time. And as you can see, they do produce beautiful results. Just maybe stick to bits of smaller areas and you'll get better results. So yes, please let me know in the comments what you thought, and any questions that you've got, do let me know. Thank you for sticking with me, and I will see you next time on Colour with Claire.